Hello, dear friends. This is Kardec Radio at 11 p.m., nourishing our souls with one more Hail Christ program. This program is here to prepare us for immortality. Everything that we're doing here together is boosting in us knowledge, wisdom, and it gives us more tools for immortality. You know, as Emmanuel says in the book Thought and Life, chapter 4, Instruction, he says that we as immortal spirits have two wings. We have the knowledge and also wisdom. So we need the knowledge. It's very important for us to tell our children and to know ourselves that the time that we're spending here together is not a waste. It's not an entertainment, because each acquisition of knowledge, each acquisition of experience that can be brought to immortality and create new skills is investment in our immortality. Right now, you and I are investing in our mortal life. You and I are investing in this sublime nature of ours. And you're welcome to join us at Kardec Radio at this moment so we can calibrate ourselves, cherish this harmony, and especially at this critical hour of the earth. It is critical, it is challenging, thus we need intensive care. Yes, all of us who are home or who are at work, wherever you are, we need critical care. Critical care means more prayers, more illumination, more messages that can boost the certainty in us. It is normal that you may be feeling these fluctuations of your faith. Sometimes you may be afraid, other times you feel so brave. It's normal. Remember, we are all together in this on earth, and we feel the reflex of everybody else. It's about the currents of thoughts. So that's why it's important for us to join forces and work together. Work together to boost the best in us, okay? Hail Christ is this phenomenal book by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier that brings to us since 1953. It's been 67 years, and this book is bringing to us wisdom that is unprecedented and very fitting. Where are we in the story? A story that is not only of Quintus Varus and his son, their families, but it's also about us. We are here to get to know that Quintus Varus, before he reincarnated in the 3rd century of our era, he was already Christianized. He was already a spirit that was already more evolved. He was found in a spiritual colony, spiritual city, where they were preparing for the next stages of evolution. But he asked for permission to come to the earth, reincarnate, and in reincarnating, he asked to rescue his son, Tassianus. He asked to rescue him and to shift his heart to the Christ, to the governance of the earth, because he was a rebellious soul. Yes, Tassianus didn't believe in Christ. He was discarnated. He was mingling with people who wanted to party and leading groups of obsessors against the light. He reincarnates Quintus Varus, in Rome, ancient Rome. He is married to Cynthia. He has Tassianus as a baby. When Tassianus is a year or so, Quintus Varus discovers that his wife is cheating on him with his boss, who is his cousin, her cousin. What does he do? First lesson, he doesn't react. He doesn't go and bump heads. He doesn't create a chaos. He doesn't say anything. He thinks of the Christ. He's counseled by Corvinus, who is much more experienced. And he goes, finds a new job. Dignity. Dignity. He doesn't know that in that new job, actually, his boss, his former boss, who has an affair with his wife, is planning to murder him. But he doesn't get to be murdered. On his stead, Corvinus gets to be murdered. Another beautiful lesson, because Corvinus tells our dear Quintus Varus, don't be shocked. Nothing happens without God's permission. Let us understand it. God orders, we must obey. Go in my place. Go to the city of Lyon in the Gauls. And when you're there, find the church of Lyon and tell them about me. Give them my bag of money and take care of yourself. That's what he does. When he's there, he's young and he is learning the new skills, a new life. Remember, he's Roman patrician. Just so you know, if you look at the map, the Gauls encompassed a large area of the Roman Empire, which today is France, Belgium, parts of Switzerland, part of northern Italy, and a little bit of Germany as well. And mainly France. And the city of Lyon, if you look at the map, you would see France here, Lyon, and you would see Rome in Italy down here. The distance, just so you think about the distance between Rome and Lyon, it's around almost less than 1,000 kilometers. If you drive, it's like 11-hour drive. That's what they say, right? If you do the map. Why am I saying this? Because we need to picture it to understand the beauty of the reincarnatory plan. Because if it's that far for us nowadays, imagine back then. And yet, you'll be surprised that father and son are separated. Tassianus is young, and all he gets to know from his mom and stepfather is that his father was murdered by Christians. A lie, fake news, right? Fake news. So he's raised hating with all his soul Christianity. But at some point, now you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised to know that at some point, and this is year 233, chapter 5. At the end of the year 233, a small group of friends had gathered in a plain room at St. John's Church in Lyon to discuss some urgent matters related to the work of the gospel. So, I'm just going to put a pause here, say hi, thank you so much. Sol Souza, thank you. We're in chapter 5. Daisy, I can see some of you who have written here, and If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to share here. And I'm gonna double check also on the phone to make sure that I see you all, friends. Remember, we are in the classroom together. Right, Lea Severo? Thank you so much. 30 minutes by plane, she's saying. Nowadays from Rome to Lyon. Very short distance, right, Leia? Carol Correia, Sol Souza, John de Rosa, Nora Brasil, Jailton, Sunshine. So beautiful to have you all here together. So, we're talking about him being quite young, and after many years have passed by. We're talking about 20 years. He is now more experienced. He embraced Christianity fully. He is devoting himself to the children like Corvinus. And he, Quintus Varus now, no longer called Quintus Varus but Brother Corvinus, besides taking care of children, he is devoted to the sick, he heals people, he explains things about Christianity, but now they are facing something that is unique. Can you believe it? In year 233, an epidemic happened in ancient Rome. It did. The empire was being ravaged by a plague that had come from the Orient. It's always like this, right? Always. Claiming countless victims. Wow, this book has everything to do with what we're living nowadays. Right, Aline? And it says, the situation was the most serious in Rome. The epidemic had invaded Gaul, and the Christian community in Lyon was mobilizing all its resources to alleviate the problems of the people. But remember, they didn't have hospitals. Hospitals is a thing of Christianity past the persecution days. They didn't have pharmacies per se. So who were the people? Were the people who were working on it, who were helping the sick? Guess who? The Christians. They were the ones who would face the sick and help them out. It was like a hospital, clinics, right? Right, Carol Correa. It's an incredible synchronicity to have Hail Christ talking about an epidemic, and what we're living nowadays, right, Silvio? And the youngest member of the group was Brother Corvinus, who advocated the cause of the abandoned and the unfortunate sick. He commented, Brother Corvinus, Quintus Varus, if we neglect our neighbor, how can we meet our mandate to be charitable? Christianity means the Spirit of Christ living within us. We see in our study the apostolic narratives that in the Lord's company the legions of heaven take possession of the earth and turn men and women into instruments of infinite goodness. From Jesus' first contact with humanity, we see the manifestation of the spirit world. And then he's going to talk since before Jesus was born, all the good spirits coming, etc. But then some companions in the church thought that they should stop. They should not take care of the sick. They should actually go retreat themselves to kind of a monastery and pray. I'm going to put a pause here because we don't want us to get confused. You are probably at home, hopefully, if you're not a physician or if you're not in the front lines, right? But nowadays we have hospitals. We have pharmacies. We have clinics. We have the whole field of medicine taking care of it. Completely different from their time. The people who used to take care of the sick and the unfortunate were the Christians ones. Before them, they were just left to their fate. So the discussion here is very pertaining. It's completely different from what many people are saying nowadays. We can't let our spiritist centers open. We can't. Why? Because we are not hospitals. Hospitals for the soul, but we have phones and internet to be in touch with people and interact with them and give them the spiritual comfort that they need. But we can't look at what Brother Corvinus is saying here, Quintus Varus, and say, I'm going to do the same, I'm going to give food to the homeless. There are shelters, unless you are in some country where shelters don't exist and you need to be the people in the front line. It's completely different, right? Right? Hello, Demetrio. Welcome to Cardiac Radio. Patricia Hargel. Hello, Patricia. Hello, Paula. So, friends, we are talking here about reasoning. Spiritism is all about using our reasoning. Yes, we feel our emotions, we acknowledge them, we validate them, but then we work with our reasoning to manage those emotions, right? So, somebody said, no, I don't agree. But then, Quintus Varus says, how can we help humanity simply by praying? And he's saying simply by praying, quote unquote. If you have to do what you have to do, like doctors, well, they have to be in the hospitals. If somebody's in need of your care and you are at home, you need to be there. You can't retreat and go somewhere else. But right now, the best way to help is to stay home and to pray. We have admirable friends living in the desert. They organize, solitary torment themselves and believe they are helping with the work of human redemption by doing these things. But if we are to seek our own peace to serve the Creator, why would Jesus have come to share the bread of life with us? In what war would a soldier who runs away in the battle be decorated? Well, and he says more. And people say, oh, I know that your observations are fair, but the pagans are accusing us of being thieves of happiness. They believe that the gospel is a cloak of sadness mothering the world. And there is no lack of those who see the plague as a vengeance of Olympic deities. Many people are crying out against us again because they believe that we are the cause of heavenly wrath. Pause. What shocks us is to see that some people still think like the ancient Romans. That they believe that the coronavirus is a punishment of God. This is such an ancient belief that we need to, I would say we should be ashamed of ourselves when we think like that, because it's very childish. God doesn't punish us. But Vanessa, it's so bad. How can God allow it to happen to us? Well, I'll explain this in spiritist terms. Well, we're living in a planet that is evolving. We have a past that is not all too beautiful. We have created the current conditions. We created the plague with our thoughts and feelings of anger, hatred, competition, and these warlike feelings all the time. Well, now it's just action and reaction. This is not punishment. It's our creation. But the beauty of it all is that we're not passive on earth. You're watching the news and you're seeing the leaders working day and night. It's not easy to be the president of any country, to be the governor of any state, to be the mayor of any city, to be the boss of any company and make decisions that are huge, affecting everybody's lives. It's very stressful. How can we help at this moment? By managing our own stress. What do you need to do to help out? If we talk about vibrations on earth, by building vibrations that are beneficial to everybody. If you're feeling that your heart is compressed, find help. Talk to a psychologist. Talk to a physician on the phone or telemed, right? And by doing so, sometimes we just need a helping hand to feel safe and relieved, pushing our certainties. And if you're a medium, of course, you're extra sensitive. You can pick up on these bubbling things that are happening. We need to pray more and more and more. And read more beautiful things. Listen to more beautiful things. And affirmations from the app, like I just got one. I am loved. And I feel I am loved. God loves me. God loves all of us. We're not abandoned. We're not abandoned. So, what happens next? People were saying, one more reason for isolating those who purpose is worship without being bothered by people. Some people are like, I don't want to be bothered by people. Others were like, I want to help people. So what does Quintus Varus say, besides many things? I agree we do not have the right to interfere in the resolve of those who seek solitude. But neither do I believe we should encourage a movement that could be classified as desertion. We're in a war of ideas. Aha, like the current times. One person thinks, go back to work. Other people, stay home. We have to respect the authorities of the government, Caesar. Give Caesar what is Caesar's and God what is God's. And stay safe in the best possible way. But when it comes to other aspects, we have to respect people's ways of being. And I say this, of course, we're not talking about putting anybody at risk, but when we talk about ideas, we have just to respect. And Brother Corvinus is so right. He says, so I urge you, let's not turn away from toil and struggle. There are endeavors in the spirit realm as well as on the physical. The victory of Christianity with the free expression of our thought is the work that is our duty to carry forward. So he says, they need resources to help people. One of the friends says, let's ask for donations. And Brother Corvinus is saying, Quintus Varus, we can work. We should not resort to outside help except in special circumstances. It wouldn't be advisable for the community to be kept unproductive. Idle minds are a den of temptation. I believe in our ability to help everyone through well-directed efforts. Our daily work is our means of testifying to the performance of our duties to those who follow us closely. Unprompted work for the good is the means that the Lord had placed within our reach so we can serve others and grow with the glory of God. Okay, pause. This is the first part of our chapter, and it's a discussion for us. Same is happening at our current time. Some people are being laid off and they need to make their means met, bring the bread to their table. I would say, as tough as it is, but it's a time for us to be creative. It's time for us to find out a solution through which we can do what we gotta do. First and foremost, if you were laid off, don't stay idle. And that doesn't mean bring money to the table. It means continue being useful. Some people are being laid off, they go home, and now it's time to shift gears. Focus on the family. If you're by yourself, there's so much to do at home. And there's always a way for us to use the internet to find means to get our jobs online. If some jobs are closing their doors, others are opening it up because everything now is online. So it's an opportunity for us in this progressing world to be synchronized with the call of on high. We're being pushed to greater development, to greater progress. Calamities are allowed to happen to us to boost our progress. It's a challenging time, but it is on us to believe that God is asking more of us. He's saying, I know you're good at this, but I want more of you. I know you have muscles you haven't worked upon. I would like you to think of them and let's work together. Do you feel it? Yes? Do you feel it? So that's one of the exercises we shall do for the next 24 hours. Think of innovative ways in which God is calling you to work with Him. What are the new ways in which God is asking us to work with Him? That's from the lesson of this first part of the chapter. To be innovative, to be creative, because that's our essence as co-creators. And 3, never be idle. Don't rest too much during this time. I know some people don't have children, because when you have children, you never rest. I can attest for this. When you have children, you never rest. Only when they sleep. But when they sleep, that's when you're going to work. That's when we work. So it's pretty intense. But when you don't have children, if you are in a slower schedule, take that time to be creative. Don't allow idleness to eat you up. I think that's the first exercise we're being asked to do in the next 24 hours. Because idleness is room for, as Corvinus is saying, as Quintus Varus, he says here quite clearly to us, he says in the very passage that we read, idle minds are a den of temptation. Yes, if by any chance you're home and you have a slower time, freer time, think of good things you can do to add to this time, because this time is not going to come back. When we pass this phase, we're going to miss the opportunity we get at hand right now. Right now, you can look at the news and say, okay, I'm going to pray, I'm going to do my part. And then when you're on your own, you say, I'm going to take a new course online, I'm going to offer a course online, I'm going to do something at home that was in need to be done and I haven't done, or I'm going to enjoy the family but with true mindfulness. So there's always something, time to meditate more, to do this inner cleansing. There are lots of visualizations on YouTube that we can use daily to do this inner journey and organize our emotions. Be prepared for the next step. If you're given that time, use it, because there are people in the hospital who are either sick or caring for the sick who are not having this time at all. At all. So if you do, let us balance the earth. We're not going to be idle, okay? That's the number one take-home message from this chapter 5. Part 2 of chapter 5. Finally, he's there. Somebody comes and says, there's somebody here that wants to talk to you. Brother Corvinus Quintus Varus, right? He's like, who is that? A woman who used to work at the country villa of his former boss, who wanted him murdered and thought he was murdered. Can you believe it? He was in Rome. He ended up in Lyon. And now he's in Lyon. And who is in Lyon? His son, Tassianus. He was living in Lyon. He was transferring himself to Lyon. And you know what? He got sick. Tassianus got sick. She says, Tassianus, the boy you knew in Rome, arrived today. He's a young man. And he says, I don't have much time. Young Tassianus has arrived ill. And then Quintus Varus says, ill? Whoa. Yes, everything says that he has the plague. The father is distraught and saying, I came here not only to tell you this, but also to ask for your help. Wow. 20 years have passed. And now they are reunited. Believe it or not. Then they go to the house. They can't recognize Quintus Varus anymore. He looks different. After a few moments of difficult expectation, Tassianus stared at his visitor with his swollen eyes, and the light in them changed. An undeniable interest was written on his face. He looked at Quintus Varus at length, as if he had gone mad, and then tried to push away the soft blanket, crying out, Who brought the news of my father's death? Where are the slaves who murdered him? The villains, they shall all die. The benefactor of the sick was caught off guard by this and resorted to prayer so he would not reveal himself. Pale and half terrified, Quintus Varus prayed silently while Tassianus, as if he were catching glimpses of reality in the ravings of his fever, kept shouting. And he talks about his father who was murdered. So the servant says, he's hallucinating, remembering of his father's death. And then she talks about the stories as if he didn't know it. How funny is this? And the beauty of it all is that he starts taking care of his son. His son doesn't recognize him. Day and night and day he's there. The servants are there, but he doesn't go home. He stays there, taking care of him. He's not worried about being contagious. He's taking care of him. And Brother Corvinus would not leave the bed. On the second day, the rash appeared in small red patches, starting with his chest, and for several weeks, Tassianus was the object of meticulous attention, often in tears, as he watched him sleep. Quintus Varus stroked his hair and endured the temptation of revealing himself. But how could he declare a deadly war on Cynthia? Mamma mia, this man is really somebody else. Had he not acquired a new way of being based on the gospel? What would his testimony of loyalty to Christ be if he sowed hatred and bitterness in his beloved son's heart? Would any attitude that tended to impose his love really do Tatianus any good? This is the Christ-conscious mindset. He is pondering if by putting him first, he's going to create unsettling feelings and commotion in the life of the family that he no longer had. Wow. How often in our family lives things happen, we're misunderstood, time goes by, and one day somebody looks at us and says, "Oh, I made a mistake." And instead of us saying, "Don't worry, let go. Don't say anything. For everything there's a purpose. This is the past." Instead of saying that, we say, "Yeah, you don't know how much I suffered." Then we open the wound again. Instead of healing it, we say, "Yeah, I'm going to tell you how much I suffered." And then we start talking. That's ego-centered. The best way for us to move forward in life is to stop thinking about how we feel, what we feel, how tragic, how dramatic. We need just to say, zip it up like Corvinus, like Quintus Varus. He suffered. He's not going to tell anyone. In all of these books, we learn this lesson time and again. Yes, suffered. So what? Who are we not to suffer? Right? We're the angels of the earth. No, we're not. So it's okay. We can't go back like children. "I'm going to tell you how much I suffered." He doesn't say that. He let it go. That's a lesson for us. Let it go. Let it go. It's the past. Who knows? And he's there patiently working. He would not vacillate. His love for his son was great, but the master's sublime love was greater, and he had to remain worthy of his supreme responsibilities. Aha! Now we got it. It's a God-centered approach. Carol Correa is saying, "I agree with you. I agree with you." Hello, Raquel Bakeshi. Mark Carlos. Hello, Laura. Cristosimo. Hello, Karina Alice, Marcia Rigonati. Friends, in this chapter that talks about the epidemic in 203, in this chapter where we're revisiting our attitude to be helpful, the Christ-conscious attitude, our dear Quintus Varus is inviting us to a new way of being. When his son regained consciousness, he embraced him. He was very grateful. His son was grateful to this man who was the supposed head gardener, but now benefactor. Tatianus felt strongly attracted to the humble man who visited him so faithfully, and he enjoyed talking with him for hours on end about science and art, culture and philosophy. They had the same interests and preferences in common. So, they were good friends. He was the gardener of the house, right? And suddenly, Quintus Varus thought of something. What if he were to bring some of the children for a loving visit? Mightn't that be the surest way to awaken Tatianus' heart to the gospel? The young man might never recognize him, But would it be right not to invite him to the banquet of divine light? Who could imagine the benefits of such undertaking because of the natural diligence he displayed? His son had, of course, made an impression on his family. He had seen right away that his son's opinions were respected. A child's song would surely open his mind. Tassianus might be inclined to study Jesus' lessons if such little ones touched his heartstrings. After considering this for a few seconds, Quintus Varus turned to the convalescent, to Tassianus, and asked him if he would like a greeting from the little ones under his care. And Tassianus loved the idea. He said that such an honor would make him very happy. He had always believed that the future belonged to the children. In his opinion, Roman civilization must not neglect the preparation of youth. So, on the next day, Tassianus helped create a festive atmosphere there. And Corvinus, then of course, the pseudonym, the new name of Quintus Varus, entered the area with 3,000 little ones, meaning quite a good number of children. Led by their mentor, they came in singing a simple hymn that expressed an endeavoring vow of peace. Friend, friend, on the path ahead of you, may heaven grant you life, the blessings of light eternal. Friend, friend, receive the greeting of our flowers of joy in the vase of your heart. The humble voices resembled a choir of angels that the wooded area welcomed on the wings of the wind. Tassianus kindly welcomed a group of little ones. There were dancers, some comical numbers, the children laughed, there were boys reciting poems. It was beautiful. They were eating, and then Tassianus was happy, embracing Brother Corvinus, when he asked a little boy named Silvanus to say a prayer for his host's happiness before they have to leave. Now, buckle up because this is strong. It's a little graphic. Hello, Emmanuel, a big hug to you. Are you ready? Surprise, right, Sol Souza? Mamma mia. Breathe in and out. It's hard. It's just showing to us how times were crazy. Everybody was there looking. The boy, little boy, began to speak with feeling, and he says, Jesus, our divine master, help us. At that moment, a sudden pallor came over the young patrician's face. Tassianus' former quiet and polite demeanor vanished. A fearsome expression effaced his joy, suddenly converted into a human beast. Roaring with anger, he cried out dreadfully, "Down with the Nazarenes! Down with the Nazarenes! Damn you, Corvinus! What a shame! How dared to bring Christians to my house? I will have justice, shall put an end to this plague." And Corvinus says, "Please have mercy, have mercy." Mercy? That's the old refrain of the filthy Galileans. Get out of here. Blah, blah, blah. It's even hard to read this out loud because it's hard to say these words. So then, to the surprise of everybody, he turns to one of his men and says, "Epipodes, go get the dog. Let's drive out this scum. Let's slay these frauds." The dogs come. Children started screaming. And the worst happens. The little boy who was praying is taken by the dog. Chest open, the wound is severe. It's sad. This is very sad. But Emmanuel is not describing this for a movie because he wants the big bucks from Hollywood. Right? Ask, why would Emmanuel describe in such details this part of the story? We may create many hypotheses, but a good one, so we could truly understand how people who resist to the call of the meek, the peacemaking of the Christ, are very cruel and barbaric. And you think they don't exist on earth? They still exist. Some of them are still incarnated. Others are in the discarnate world. In mediumistic meetings, we see them coming, we see them coming and proclaiming themselves against the Christ. We feel for them. Why? Because 2,000 years have gone by and yet they resist. We can't resist the call of love. We can't resist to the call of mercy because we also need mercy and forgiveness. And they are spread out on earth. Right now, we need to pray more than ever because this, our plague, the coronavirus one, is coming here also to make us step forward into the decision of being one with the call to love, of fraternity, of equality. Yes, we can no longer emit dissension, fanaticism, sectarianism. We need to be one. It doesn't matter the label, as long as we're not resisting the moral code that the Christ consciousness brings to us. Forgiveness always. Tolerance, which is the order of progress. I was talking to a friend yesterday and saying, though we didn't have a nuclear war, we still were part of many wars. It's not only political wars. Wars in homes, in spiritist centers, at work, everywhere. We're being asked to really heal from it, to be conciliatory, to be peaceful. Right now we're going to get to know that Silvanus is dying. He dies at the arms of Brother Corvinus. It's awful. And we get to know that Tassianus doesn't want anything to do with Corvinus. To our surprise, he's taken in his Roman Empire as a hero because he's expelling the Christians, especially Brother Corvinus, who was a bother to many. That's what he got to know. People came to him saying that he was a bother. It's funny, huh? In the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, Emmanuel has a message that says, when we start taking the side of the light and being proactive, we inevitably become noticed by those who are idle, who don't want the new order. They become upset with us. That's what happened to Corvinus. He was being now persecuted. And the first measure that Tassianus does is to evaluate his own slaves. He wants his own slaves to promise that they are not Christians, instead that they are obedient to the emperors and they believe in the deities. He makes every single one of them proclaim it. They do it, but one of them. Who is he? Rufus. And you know who Rufus is? It's the reincarnation of Professor Euripides Barçanufo. Tomorrow I'll show you a picture, if you don't know it. But Rufus is the slave who courageously says, I am Christian. And they say to him, this punishment could lead to your death. But he says, suffering does not scare me. He said humbly, Jesus experienced martyrdom on the cross to save us. To die out of loyalty to him is an honor I aspire to. The whip came down on his back violently, and he was beaten up. He was actually going to be sacrificed. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Today, I've asked for your forgiveness. This is too much to share. But this book comes to strengthen us. To strengthen us in our courage, in our faith, in our hope. Right now on earth, we're being asked to be brave in our faith. To be brave in standing up for what we believe, like Rufus. Maybe family members are not going to kill us physically, but you can't back off from your belief, from practicing what you need. You're not going to impose, but you need to stand up for yourself. Because the day they need it, they know you are a reference. If Quintus Varus hadn't embraced these teachings, we wouldn't be watching what we are watching right now. The very life of a man who was true to his own conviction. So, if you want another exercise for the next 24 hours, we may do. Am I being coherent with my conviction? Am I standing up tall with it towards the adversities of life? Because if you keep hiding it at this crucial moment on earth, people will not know they can count on you. Because they don't know what you believe in. So if you want to be useful, I would say this kindly. If you haven't done so, come out of the closet. In the most sublime way. And courageously say what you believe in. Because right now, people are suffering. And what you know, in terms of spirituality, spiritism, can be a saving grace for many lives. Can be a saving grace for people who are losing their jobs, who are at home, homeschooling their children, super stressed out, and you may be a helping hand. Maybe just talking to them a little bit, sharing a message, or even saying a prayer with someone can bring relief. It's time for us to be inspired by Quintus Varus, Rufus, and others who were humble but very brave. Brave in standing up for what they knew. It's not only belief, it's knowledge. We know that these teachings are immortal. They do good to us. They shall do good to others too. Right now, there are people who are at their crossroads, making big decisions. There are people who are getting pregnant and thinking of committing an abortion because they think, I'm not going to have a baby in the midst of this crisis. What are you going to tell them? People who are thinking of committing suicide because they are going bankrupt. Some companies are filing for bankruptcy. What are we going to do? It's time for us to test our faith, and one of the tests is to embrace it fully, especially in our conversations with people and sharing with them the best that we have to share. Nothing is by chance. How can at that time a man move from Rome to Lyon, so far away, and reunite with his son 20 years later if there wouldn't be the design of God? God reigns supreme. We are not forsaken. Let us pray together now. Shall we, friends, pray together, feeling that we are so surrounded by waves of health. Let us feel it. Visualize our planet Earth as if we have it in our hands, like a baby, holding it with all of our loving care, holding our planet Earth and singing a lullaby of health. Yes. Telling it, you know the song, right? Telling the earth, every single cell of your body is healthy. Every single cell is happy and well. Right? And let us visualize it. Waves of health enveloping our planet Earth, enveloping everyone in confidence that God is taking care of us, all of us. Oh God, what a test. We can't stop thinking about you. We can't stop feeling you. And we really want to partake in your creation. Co-creating right now feelings of certainty, of loving kindness. We breathe in the airs of your love. And visualize our whole planet being enveloped by your healing love. Waves of health permeating every single aspect of the earth. And wherever there is despair, may these waves bring hope. Wherever there is sadness, joy, the joy of living. Thank you, God, for the opportunity of being together, of uniting our energies in your name and love. May we be useful to you in works of the good. May in the next 24 hours we ponder the beauty of working with you. Do not let us be idle, and do not let us be discouraged either. May we feel your messengers, our protecting spirits, enveloping us in love, kindness, hope, and peace. And so be it. Friends, this is Hail Christ. With Christ, we're fine. We'll be fine. We're strong on earth. We are learning about the beauty of immortal love here at Kardec Radio, always nourishing our souls. Let us stay very dutiful and singing the songs of hope and joy today and always. Thank you, and until tomorrow, God willing.